fairly quickly. This is a new technology called webinar, and it really does lend itself to doing things very cost effectively. And as a first try, we're going to present some information on the enhanced mating predictor on our website, which was implemented about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm sure some of you have already been in and played with it, but I suspect you probably haven't worked out just everything it can do. So with that little welcome, I'm going to hand over to Andrew Byrne from SBTS, who's going to take you through the webinar.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, sorry, it's Andrew Byrne here from SBTS. It appears we may have had a sound issue just to start off with, so hopefully now that you can hear me. As I said, if you are experiencing any technical difficulties in that you can't hear any sound, as you should be able to now, then please call 0412 811 123. Ashley Austin from Limousin Breed Plan is standing by to help you out with any of the difficulties that you may be having. Second of all, one of the things with these webinars is we try and make them as interactive as possible. So while you're not able to speak directly, you are able to ask questions. You should have in front of you a little question box as part of the GoToWebinar screens which come up in front of you. If you have any questions as we go along, then please enter them in there. They'll come up in front of us and we'll endeavour to answer them as we go along. So I'd really encourage you to do that. With all those things out of the way, all the housekeeping, we'll start now and actually look at the enhanced mating predictor, which is what we're here to do. So I'll just change into the internet now. And just bear with me for a second. So you can see now, you should have in front of you the Limousin web page. So for those of you that are after how to access this enhanced mating predictor, you'll see now in front of you the Limousin homepage. So as you can see at the top, www.limousin.com.au. If you go to that particular website, to access the enhanced mating predictor, we first of all really need to get into the internet solutions type pages. So if you see up the top here, we have this database search option. If you come down, you can click on any of these particular options, but we'll just go into the animal search, and that will take us into the Limousin Internet Solutions facility. To access the mating predictor, which we're talking about today, if you look at the different options or the different services that are available across the top, we just click on this mating predictor link. So if we click on that, and that then takes us into this mating predictor. Now the reason that we're running this webinar today, as well as to demonstrate and try and trial this webinar type technology, is that the mating predictor that's been available for some time has recently been enhanced to make it far more user-friendly and powerful for you to use in your mating selections. So we'll go through and just do a couple of exercises to demonstrate kind of the enhancements that have been made and some of the ways that you could perhaps use it within your enterprise. So at a base level, I suppose the mating predictor, if we consider it as an EBV calculator, if you like, we have the option of just putting in a sire identifier and a dam identifier. So in this case, we'll just take 2 example animals. So we type in here the Limousin, basically society identifier. So we'll take an example animal here, IMU PQ095. We'll put an example dam identifier in, so MGW FP214. We've put those 2 things in. At a base level, we have some other options available down here, but we'll just click on search, and that'll go through and then display the results from that mating predictor. Now, at a base level, what comes up first of all is we can see this sire. So we have the name displayed here. We come across, we have that sire's EBVs. Below that, we have the dam that we specified and the EBVs for that animal. Now, as with all these internet things, any of these links which are highlighted, we can click on those and that will take us into more information about the animal. So we've already specified that sire, but if we wanted to get more information about that that sire, we could click on that link and that would take us into the sire's animal details page. And we could go off and look and find more information about the sire that we specified. Likewise, we could do exactly the same with the dam. What the mating predictor's got for us, which is different to just viewing those animals, is that takes the sire's EBVs, the dam's EBVs, and gives us the expected EBVs of the progeny. So you can see if we come across here, if we take a simple example, we've got plus 20 for the sire's 200-day weight, plus 15 for the dam's 200-day weight. So the expected EBV or 200-day weight EBV is exactly halfway between that, so 17.5, or in this case it's displaying just rounded at plus 18. So there's nothing too complicated there. It's just a simple EBV calculator which looks at the EBVs of the sires and the EBVs of the dams to come up with the expected EBVs of the progeny. And we can obviously use this when we're designing our matings to see whether those EBVs of the progeny would be in line with our breeding objective. Two other things which we can display. First of all, up the top, we'll just say you've got this Show EBV Accuracy link, which I've just got my mouse over at the moment. If we click on that, and that will then display the EBV accuracies of the sire's EBVs, the EBV accuracies of the dam's EBVs, and now we can see we've got the EBV accuracies, or expected EBV accuracies of the progeny. So as well as having effectively mid-parent EBVs for any progeny, the outcome of this mating, we also have some expected accuracies as the outcome of that particular mating. And they would obviously increase as we generate these progeny when we add performance information and the like. So we have that. The other option that we have available to us is the ability to show index values. So if we click on this link again up the top, it will add the different selection index values that are available. So here we now have the sire's index values, the dam's index values, and below it we now have effectively mid-parent index values for the outcome of any particular mating. So again, we can just enhance what we're doing when we're trying to plan our matings to look, and now we have expected EBVs, EBV accuracies, and index values. The next bit of information, which is one of these enhancements that has been made to this mating predictor, is the expression of the expected level of inbreeding in any particular mating. So you can see now down the bottom here we have a couple of bits of information relating to the expected inbreeding levels from this particular mating. Now this is displayed as an inbreeding coefficient, which you may or may not be familiar with. Effectively it is just displaying as a percentage the expected level of inbreeding from that mating. Now to give you a bit more information, if you're not familiar with inbreeding coefficients, you can click on that link and it will go through and give you some more detailed information about what that inbreeding coefficient is telling you. So as an example, down here we can see some example inbreeding coefficient levels. So particularly I suppose if an animal has a single common great-grandparent, we'd expect an inbreeding coefficient of around 3.1%. Half-sib matings, so basically the two animals that are being mated together have either the same sire or the same dam, we'd expect an inbreeding coefficient of around 12.5%. If we then start to get into some more inbred type situations, so an animal mated to its own parent, then we're looking at 25%, etc. So that'll give you a bit of an idea as to what level of inbreeding you're looking at in those different inbreeding coefficient percentages. In terms of when an animal is considered inbred or not, there are different trains of thought on that. I think that the information that we've had put in front of us is any kind of inbreeding level over about 10%, then you'd start to become quite worried about it. So that's a rough guide. There's probably different trains of thoughts on it, but that'll give you a bit of an idea as to when you're planning your matings whether the expected level of inbreeding is a concern or not. So if we just go back to the inbreeding type information which is displayed out of the mating predictor, we see we've got the inbreeding coefficient and then the actual level from that particular mating. We're also two other bits of information which effectively give you an idea as to how much information is available, how much pedigree information to calculate that inbreeding coefficient. So obviously when we're calculating these inbreeding coefficients, one of the limitations is how much pedigree information has been recorded with the breed society. So if we have two animals, they have no pedigree recorded, when it calculates the inbreeding coefficient, it's going to have a very low kind of inbreeding coefficient. Now that may not mean that the animal is not inbred or not likely to be inbred, but simply that pedigree information hasn't been recorded to indicate that the animal is inbred. So you have two different statistics here, both the minimum number of generations which are available in any particular branch in the pedigree tree, and also the average number of generations which are available in the pedigree tree to enable the calculation of that inbreeding coefficient. So you can see this particular animal has quite a detailed pedigree. So if we look down any particular branch of the pedigree tree, we have a minimum of 5 generations of pedigree, and on average we have 7.6 generations to work with. So you'd expect that this inbreeding coefficient over here is a very accurate type of figure. The other enhancement which has been made to this, and the other bit of information which is now available, is this pedigree display of this mating. Now what this enables you to do, if you click on this link, is it will display both the sire and dam's pedigree. So you'll see here we've got the sire we specified, the dam we specified, and several generations of pedigree there that you can see. So they're just over the one page there on my screen, but you can see that goes back 1, 2, 3, 4 different generations. So you can go through and study those pedigrees and see whether you're comfortable with it when you're looking at your mating prediction. The other bit of information which you have available is the EBV graph. Now this may be something which you're familiar with on animals, but this is providing you with the expected EBV graph of the outcome of that particular mating. So really it's just displaying those expected EBVs in a graphical form. We haven't probably got time to go through and explain that EBV graph and how to interpret it at the moment, but if you do have any questions about what that's telling you, then I suggest you probably contact Alex tomorrow and he can take you through it. So if we go through those kind of things, we'll go back to the mating predictor. That really is an indication as to the level of information which you can now do. So you specify a sire and a dam, and it will display overall expected EBV values, expected EBV accuracies, expected indexes, and also give you an idea as to the level of inbreeding that you'll see from any particular mating. So it's a really powerful tool now that you can use to design in your basically design of your matings within your program. So we might just stop now at that level before we go on into one more demonstration and just have a look at the questions that have been raised. There are no questions on my screen that anyone sent in, but I'll just pass back over to Alex because I think he may have a...
Yeah, thanks Andrew. I do have a question on my screen. The question is, what if I only know the sire's name and not his ident or his identifier?
Okay, that's a very good question, Alex. Obviously, if we go back to the previous page, I'll go back to the mating predictor, you only have the option here of specifying a sire identifier. So one of the limitations that you need, I think the screen is just a bit behind me now, it'll be catching up, so that one of the limitations that you've got is you do need to know the sire identifier. Now in the case that we used, if you only knew the animal's name, to work out what the identifier is, you really need to go back to this animal inquiry type situation. So we'll just do that now as an example. Go back to animal inquiry. So we only know that the animal's name, and I've got that written down here in front of me. So we knew the animal's name was like that. So we could type in the animal's name, click on search. That will display the results, and you can see over here in the table you've got the identifier. So if you only know the animal's name, then you do need to go in and find out the identifier, but you can very easily use the animal inquiry to do that. Grab that or write that down, or just highlight that and copy it by just using your right mouse click. Go back to the mating predictor and you can right mouse click again and paste that in. So that's a very simple way to do it. So hopefully that answers your question. I'll just pass back to Alex and see if we've got any other questions.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm getting the questions tonight. The second one I've got is, can I access the inbreeding coefficient for an existing animal?
Okay, we don't have the display of the expected inbreeding levels for existing animals. Now, that's not to say that you can't go in and try and work that out. Effectively, if you have an animal, you know its sire and you know its dam, you can put in the sire and the dam ident into these particular fields, click on search, and it will calculate the inbreeding level, if you like, of any existing animal. Now, there is one limitation at the moment in that the dam needs to be active, so you need to have that dam still active with the Limousin Society to enable you to do that. One of the things which we are discussing now at a technical level is whether we display the inbreeding levels of current animals, and they may or may not come on this screen in the future. But the short answer is that you can't see it at the moment, but you can try and kludge your way through by putting in the sire and the dam identifier to come up with an idea as to what the expected inbreeding is. We have a couple more questions now that have just come in. So the first one, I think, is can this be used for heifers? Certainly it can. I'll show you in the next screen how you can do this rather than just specifying a particular sire and a particular dam, how you can do it on a range of animals. Effectively, you can do this for any animals, as far as my understanding, any animal which is recorded with the Limousin Society. So as long as you can specify either the heifer's particular ident or a range of idents, so you can put something in which allows you to search across heifers, then you should be able to use this. The next question we've got is, can you look at multiple dams at once? And again, that fits in with that, so certainly you can, and I'll go in and have a look show you at the moment how you can put this across all animals in your female inventory. And the last question I have here is, what about calculating Limousin blood content? At the moment, that hasn't been built into the mating predictor, but that's something which obviously we'll take the feedback to Alex now, and he'll look and see whether that's possible to build it in. So there's no reason why. I don't think if we've got the sire and the dam's blood content recorded, then that could be one enhancement that we can look into this mating predictor. So thank you for your questions. That's really great. Please keep them coming in. I'll now go on and show you probably a little bit more sophisticated way that you can use this. Obviously, as well as putting in an individual sire and an individual dam, you also have the ability to go through and specify a range of sires and a range of dams. Now, you can do that simply if we looked at our example before. You just put a comma in here and put in another sire ident. So this is at a base level. FT 9746 is another example. And down here in the dam, we'll put in the same dam again, MGW FP214. Click on search. Now we'll just change, I'll explain what that is in the middle, but we just changed the bottom display results by dam. I'll explain that in the next section what we're doing there. And you can see now that we have the particular dam and we only have one particular sire, which was just shows to show. We are supposed to have both sires there. I must have messed up the ident that I put in. So we're just having a look at that. I've got, yeah, so we need two Fs in there. Click on search and hopefully that'll work this time. So that's far better. So we've got the dam in there. We've got the sire as such. So the first sire as we did. The expected EBVs of that outcome of that particular mating. We then have the next sire down here and the expected outcomes of that particular mating. So the expected EBVs there. Likewise, as before, we can click on the Show EBV Accuracies up the top to put on the accuracies. We can also click on the Show Index Values to put on the expected indexes. So one of the limitations, I suppose, you can see here is we don't have any expected carcass EBVs for the outcome of the mating with this other sire. Really what that's telling us is we'll only get expected EBV accuracies if we have both sire and dam with the EBVs. So this sire doesn't have any of those EBVs reporting, so we don't get any of the expected EBV accuracies there. So that's just a simple example as to how we can go in and put in one dam and multiple sires. Likewise, we could put in one sire and multiple dams. Probably one of the ways that makes this a bit easier is if we go back to the mating predictor, you can see up the top here it tells you for enhanced selection criteria you can use the mating predictor after logging on here. So if you click on this here button, it'll take you through to the normal login and password that you're expected. So we'll log on here as a member. In this case we'll log on as Alex McDonald. So we'll put in his username and password. What I will say at this stage is if you don't have a username or password, the best way just is to contact Alex or Fran at the Limousin Society tomorrow, and they should be able to set you up. So most of you, I suspect, will probably have that. Do that, click on the sign on, and you're suddenly logged in as that particular member. So you come up to the normal welcome page. If we go through, put in here in the mating predictor, and you'll see you've now got this other option down the bottom called ownership selection. So that's giving you the option to run this across either all females, say, in your ownership, or all females on your female imagery. So we'll do this example. Say we're in Alex's position. He's identified that there are 3 sires that he might be interested in using within his operation. So at the top we'll put in IMUPQ095, the same sire we were talking about before. We'll put in IMF-T9746, and we'll put in another sire, MDN-PY329. We'll then display down here that we want to, they're the 3 sires he's identified he possibly might use. We want to look at that across all the females on his female imagery, because we want to use this to go in and do our mating predictor. So if we go through, we've clicked on my female imagery. Now there are 2 ways we can display these results, and this is down here in terms of the display results by sire or dam. If we have that selected on sire, what that will give us is the sire and then sire's EBVs and then all the possible dams, so all the dams on the female imagery and their outcome. If we have it on dam, it'll give us a separate page for each particular dam, but with all the sires that we've specified. So that's one thing how we can manipulate the results. The other thing obviously here is the maximum number of dams to display. So you just need to, depending on how many females you've got on your imagery, click on the relevant box there, tick on the relevant circle to specify what you're after. So in this case we'll just do sire first. So we've specified the 3 potential sires and my female imagery. If we click on search, that'll go through and give us the outcome. So you can see now, because we had sire, Alex has got 16 dams on his female imagery. We've got the sire, and that's listed at the top. We then have the dams, EBVs there, and if we come down, we get the expected average progeny value. So you can go down for each of those and just see for each dam what the expected outcome of that particular mating would be. So that's one way we could do, and you could go through that and then match that sire to a particular number of dams. The other way we can do it is if I just go back, we'll change this to dam, click on search, and now you can see, have I pressed here, I've probably put in the wrong sire ident again. So we've got a dam there and 1 sire, we should have 3 specified. I better just go back and work out my typing errors again. So IMF FT9746, which should be working, and MDN PY329. That should be working, I would have thought. And we'll click on search this time. I'll just check the first one. IM, and there I think IMU F, and no, so F, where are we? PQ, no F. There's my typing mistake. You can click on search now. So thank you very much to the people in the audience who picked up my typing mistakes. I think I've closed my way through and stuffed it up again. IMU, I'll just check my notes in front of me, IMU PQ095. I think perhaps we need a space in here. There's something happening there with my typing, something I can't display, so we'll go back to the sire results. I'm sure someone's sitting out there screaming at the screen telling me what I've done wrong. So if we go back here, you'll see here we've got the sire. We'll just look at this on a sire basis. Show EBV accuracy, we can bring up the accuracies, show the index values as such, and we can go through there. And so now we've got the expected outcome of that particular mating there with that dam, and likewise here the expected indexes and the pedigree, the expected inbreeding levels. So if we go down here, we'll go through and you can see them. So we can look at the different level if there's any particular mating which is going to give us a large inbreeding coefficient. Likewise, the number of generations which are available, we can click on the different links. And we could go through and say, well, if we had a certain number of straws from that particular sire, which are the dams which he'd probably be best suited to? And we could go through and do that as we go along. So likewise, we could do it the other way. If the system works, I'm sure it's just my incompetence at the moment in using the system which is causing us a difficulty, by putting in the potential sires, dams, and display that on a dam basis. So we could go through, look at the dam, look at the 3 sires which we had available, go through and match up our matings along those lines. So I think that's a pretty informative way that we can do it in our mating predictions. So I think that really brings us to an end my demonstration there as to how you use it. I think the take-home message out of this is it's a very powerful tool that displays, really the expected outcome of matings, and you can use this basically when you're doing your matings to come up with the best possible outcome. These enhancements have been available for a number of weeks now, and I think the feedback has been quite pleasing, and everybody seems to be using it. It's reasonably user-friendly, so if you get in there, have a bit of a play, and then hopefully it's not too hard to use. I do just have a couple more questions in here. One of them is, can we run multiple sires and multiple dams together? You certainly can. So if you, and I'm a bit skeptical about actually going back in and trying that given my stuff up so far, but if you specify 2 sires and 2 dams, or multiple sires and multiple dams in there, put a comma between them, and you do it properly, not as I demonstrated to you tonight, then that will display all the possible combinations from those. So you should be able to do that. I don't have 2 dams in front of me at the moment just to be able to demonstrate that to you, but you certainly can do that. We have a few other questions here, and I think most of them are telling me that along the lines, giving me some advice as to I need commas instead of full stops and those kind of things. So thank you very much for telling me how I was going, where I was going wrong. I apologise for not being able to get that up on the screen in front of me. It's the joys of the live webinar. So I think that brings the demonstration to a close there. I will just go back and just show you this here. So if we go back, basically one thing that I would say is that's brought our webinar to a close. But if you have any further information, so you go in now in the next couple of minutes and have a play with this system, and you have any difficulties or any questions arise, then please, probably as the first point of call, get in touch with Alex tomorrow. You can see there we've got his phone number at the Limousin Society and email address. If you would prefer, I'm also available for any questions that you have. So my phone number and email address are there, so please feel free to give me a call as well. So I think that brings to an end the webinar. Hopefully you've been able to get familiar with this new technology. As Alex said at the start, it's a very exciting technology and obviously allows us to get out to a lot of people without actually having to get around Australia and see you all. Out of interest for those of you that are viewing it at home, tonight we had 29 attendees, so 29 different Limousin members from around Australia logging in just to catch this quick half-hour update on this new technology. So I think that's very promising. As with any of these things, as new technology, if you have any advice or suggested topics for future webinar in the future, then please get in touch with Alex or myself. And likewise, at the end of when you log off this webinar, I'm pretty sure there will be a questionnaire which comes up with just 3 or 4 questions, which we'd really appreciate if you could just spend a couple of moments filling in, just to give us some feedback about these webinars, how you think they've gone, and whether you have any advice on future webinar topics and the like. So I'll pull up there and say good night.
Thanks, Andrew. It's Alec here, just saying farewell, and if I can just if you're still there, sorry, we had a little technical fault there. Thank you for attending. Please fill out the questionnaire because we do need your feedback on even things like the best time to run these webinars, be it 7 in the morning, 7 at night, or both. And I think I am safe in saying that Limousins are the first society to take advantage of this new software that SBT, Southern Beef Technology Services, have. Good night, and we'll see you at the next webinar. I must have hit that button.